What is up, everybody? Peridot here, and I am back finally after a huge hiatus with my garage sale video game hunting finds. Now, obviously, it would not have been as bad of a hiatus if I hadn't been putting out monthly Goodwill finds, but it's been super hot here in Arizona, so yard sales have been few and far in between. But now it's starting to cool up a bit in the mornings, and garage sales have been starting to spring up, and all of this has come from the month of September. There were 3 different weeks. I was actually going to film this episode last week because I found a lot and I was satisfied with the amount of games I had to make a video, but work just kind of kicked me in the ass. I hadn't really had any time to film, so I figured, when I go out this Saturday, if I find, anything else, then I will go ahead and add it onto the video. And I ended up finding a lot more stuff that I will show you guys. So I'm going to actually be putting these into 2 separate parts. The first part is going to be the first 2 weeks of September, and then the third part is going to be the 3rd week, which is where I found all my good stuff. So let's go ahead and begin. Woke up and it was so nice outside. I figured, you know what, let's go see if there are any garage sales. And the first sale, I found a couple of Wii games. Now, originally she had those priced at $10 each, and I was like, oh, I can't do that. So I brought them up, and I'm like, what's the best you can do on these? And at first she was like, oh, $2 a piece. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's all right, that's fair. And then she's like, oh, wait, they have $10 price tags. Sorry, these are my husband's. Can you do 10 for the both of them? I said, you already said $2 a piece, so can you do 2 for 5? It's kind of being a little bit of an ass at that point, but she's like, she laughed, so, and then she was like, you know what, I can do 2 for 7, and I said that's a fair price. So these are the 2 games I got. We got a copy of Namco Museum Megamix. That is complete. And then a copy of Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles, complete as well. Both of these are in pretty good shape, and they're anywhere between $8 to $10, so decent deal on those 2 games. Both games I've been actually looking for a little bit. Next little find I have came up to the sale. This guy actually has sales like every couple of weeks, and so I walk up and I'm like, oh, do you have any new video games this week? And he said, I got some PSP games, and he only charges $2 a piece, which is an extremely fair price for a reseller. So I picked out these 2 games. First up, we have Lumine's Puzzle Fusion, but that was actually not the game in there. The game inside was Metal Gear Acid 2. I will take that any day over Lumine's. Lumine's is like complete, like a $4 game, but Metal Gear Acid 2 is like a $10 game, just loose cart. And then the other game, definitely the best game, Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. This is like a $7 to $10 game, complete and in pretty damn good shape. So I only paid $4 for those. Now, the next sale that I found some stuff, this was definitely the hardest negotiation of my life. Walk up to the sale, ask him if he has any video games. He says he has stuff, but he does not want to get rid of them. I ask him if he has any video games that he just doesn't play anymore that he would like to get rid of. He said he'll go and check later, and if he could take my number. And I lied and told him I don't really live around the area, because I knew if I gave him my number, he would never text me back. But he said, all right, let me just go and look real quick. And so he went inside and looked, and then he came out and he's like, just come inside, I'll show you. And so he had on the floor, it was like a floor and then like a couch. On the floor, he had a bunch of newer games like Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, Wii. Only games I can remember were like probably it was like Burnout on the Xbox 360, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and like Mario Kart and New Super Mario Bros. So I wasn't as interested in that as what was on the couch. On the couch, he had PlayStation 1 and Dreamcast games, about 30 of them, mostly Dreamcast games. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to be walking away with the best Dreamcast score of my life. Sadly, that was not the case. He really did not want to get rid of most of the games he had. It was just back and forth. Would you take $100 for everything? He said no. Would you take $50 for the stack? He said no. Then finally I was like, I picked out the 3 best games. I'm like, hey, could you do just $20 for these 3 games? And he looked and he thought a bit and he said fine. So 3 for $20 sounds like a lot, but when you see these games, you'll know that it is definitely worth $20 for all 3 of these. The best games I missed out on that he had were, it was like Crash Bandicoot Warped on the PlayStation 1, and like Sonic Shuffle, Crazy Taxi, GTA 2 on the Dreamcast. A lot of Dreamcast games, I really can't remember them all, but he wanted to hold on to a lot of those, which I can understand. But first up, we have a copy of Medieval on the PlayStation 1. Definitely the best PS1 game he had. It was complete and in pretty damn good shape. The disc is very fingerprinted, but it did work. This is already worth the $20. It's like a $25, $30 game. So I was happy about that. And then the next game, we have a Dreamcast game, Power Stone. Obviously missing the manual, but still a really good game to find, even without the manual, and it goes for like $30. He said he had Power Stone 2, but he couldn't find it, which would have just been an absolutely amazing find. That is a pretty damn rare game. But he couldn't find it, which sucks, but still, you know, it's Power Stone 1 is still a really good find. And then definitely the best Dreamcast game he had. I was actually going to buy this a couple months ago. I saw it for buy it now for $35, I think, and I was tempted to pick it up because it was like a little bit less than like what it usually goes for. It's like a $45, $50 game. We've got a copy of Dynamite Cop. Now this is actually in pretty fantastic shape. The disc is a little rough, but it definitely works. Very happy to add this to the collection. Finally found some Dreamcast games after, well, it's been a long time since I've ever found anything remotely Dreamcast. And especially Dreamcast games that I can buy and aren't overpriced, or, you know, they don't want them or anything like that. So very happy with that. That was it for that day. In total, I spent, what was it, $41? $7 for the Wii games, $4 for the PSP games, and then $20 for the other games. So, obviously that wasn't enough to make one video, so I figured, you know, next time I go, hopefully I should find some more stuff. And I ended up really scoring. I walk up to the sale. This was the only find I had at this community yard sale. I actually wasn't going to go out that week, but I noticed that there had been a community yard sale sign the day before, and I was like, you know what, I'll just go to it. So I went and definitely scored on this one find that I had. The only other game I found was like Diablo 3 on the Xbox 360. It was really beat up. I already had it, but they were only asking 50 cents. In hindsight, I probably should have picked it up, but I didn't. But that's not really a big deal because I ended up getting all this stuff that I'm about to show you. I walk over to the sale, ask, you know, I go down my usual list, Nintendo, any old Nintendo, PlayStation, Sega. And when I say Sega, he says, I actually have a bunch of Sega Genesis games. And his son is like, oh, I know where those are, I'll go and find it. And usually when the son goes and look for it, it takes like 10 to 20 minutes. But he immediately came out, and he just came out with this box. Now at first, I saw just one game on top and a bunch of cords. But this game happened to be boxed, and I was really excited. I'm like, oh my god, you know, maybe they'll use some more. So I dug around, and it wasn't immediate at first that, like, I thought it was just the one game and just like a couple of cords and controllers and stuff, but there ended up being 10 boxed Genesis games in there, which is just absolutely incredible. I rarely ever find boxed Genesis stuff. Like, the only thing I've ever found was that offer-up deal I had a couple months ago. And this is definitely a lot better than the offer-up deal. So first, let me just show you the assorted cords. Let me pull these all out. First up, hold on. Let me get this cleaned up, I guess. We have a Sega power cord and a Sega AV cable, or like an old school RF adapter kind of thing. No systems. He said that he didn't have any systems, but honestly, I have two Genesises at the moment. Genesi, I don't know. So I wasn't too bummed. And then also, there was a PlayStation RF adapter and a PlayStation cord. I asked him if he had any other PlayStation stuff, and he said no, that was all that he had. He must have gotten rid of it a long time ago. So I was like, whatever, not a big deal. He had 3 PlayStation 1 controllers, one of which is kind of a crappy third party. But these two were both non-DualShocks, which is, you know, a little sucky, but still can't hurt to have some extra controllers. He also had a Genesis third-party controller that was actually really good. I use it, but I just kind of forgot to bring it, and I didn't figure it was that important. But there were also two controllers that were pretty interesting, I have to say. First up, we have a Genesis QuickShot, one of the flight sticks, in decent shape. It doesn't really move all that well. I already tested it out. It's not very good, but it's still something cool to have. It goes for anywhere between 10 to 15 bucks. But then definitely the best controller was this Sega Fight Stick. This is absolutely cool. It's the 6-button fight stick. It's got you know, select, start, mega fire speed. I don't even know what that means, but it's really freaking cool. This is actually the lowest listing I saw was 50 bucks on eBay, and that's usually what it sells for. So this was a really, really cool find, and it's actually really nice and heavy duty. So but anyways, enough with all the controllers. Let's move on to the games. First up, we have a copy of Sonic 2, not for resale version. The game actually was not in here, but I did have the not for resale cart at home, so I figured it wasn't that big a deal. I'll keep my eye out for a not for resale cart, so that way this could be 100% complete. Copy of F-22 Interceptor. Oh man, complete. Let me if I can get this back in there. Jesus Christ, this is being frustrating. I was just putting it in the wrong way. But that is complete. Not a very valuable game. This game goes anywhere for like $4. Still cool to have. Complete. A very gross copy of Afterburner 2. You can see that the artwork, the front artwork, is heavily water damaged. But the game inside is in pretty fine shape. No manual. Copy of Miss Pac-Man. Missing the manual. A copy of Judge Dredd. Jesus. Not complete. All the carts on these are actually in pretty good shape too. A copy of Subterranea. This was the first game that I saw, the one on top of everything. It is complete. The manual actually wasn't in there at first, but it was actually at the bottom of the box, so it is now complete. Got a copy of Tasmania. Complete. Really happy to find this game here. Got a copy of Alien 3. This is a $15, $20 game, and the cart itself is actually in really fantastic shape. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. In really, really good shape, so happy to get that. And then the two best games, really good games to add to my Genesis collection. Super happy to find these. Well, we've got a copy of Alien Storm. This is complete and in actually really fantastic shape. The case, unfortunately, like one of the things is broken off, so the cart doesn't hold on very well. But the cart itself is in really good shape. This is a $30 game complete in box, so happy to find that. And then definitely the best game of the lot. Definitely a game that I would rather found for the Super Nintendo, but still really, really freaking cool to have it on the Sega Genesis. We've got a copy of Sunset Riders. Really, really happy to find this game. Been wanting to play this forever. Obviously not as valuable on the Genesis as the Super Nintendo, but in the box, it is still a $50 game. Unfortunately, it was missing the manual. However, the game itself is in pretty mint shape. Zoom in on that. Very good shape. It works. I tested it. It's really hard. What's funny is my coworker actually owns this on the Super Nintendo, and he told me, he's like, hey, you know you're never gonna find that, right? Like, even like on any system. And I told him, yeah, you're probably right. And so I brought that to work the next day just to rub it in his face. So that was kind of a good feeling. But yep, that is it for part 1. Stick around, there is going to be a part 2. obviously that came a week after I found this huge Sega Genesis bundle. Like I said, Genesis bundle was the only stuff I found at that community yard sale, but it was definitely the best. I asked him what he wanted for everything, and he said $20. So pretty much $2 a game, and then like all the controllers and cords and stuff for free. So I was extremely, extremely happy to find all that. Definitely, really, you never see boxed Genesis games anymore. You always see the loose cards, but never really see boxed games. But that is it for part 1. I'll be right back with the rest of the stuff for part 2. Alright, so I'm back, and actually looking back at it, the yard sale finds that I have right now, I actually found these on October 1st. I thought it was a part of September, but it wasn't, so I guess September. This was not the best month I've ever had. September was still a really good month, but judging by the beginning of October, October 1st, October should be an even better month. But anyways, enough talking. Let's get right into this. I actually would not have gotten out today had I not gone on my Facebook Marketplace group. Now, I was just scrolling, seeing if there was anything, and I noticed that there was a yard sale posting with nothing special except for, in one of the photos there was the Game of Life on the PlayStation 1, and I was like, I already own the game, it's not a very valuable game. So I messaged her and I was like, hey, do you have any other PlayStation 1 games? And she mentioned 3 others, and 2 of the 3 I was interested in, one of which is actually a pretty hard to find uncommon game. So I asked her, hey, can you just hold those for me? And she said sure, and she ended up following through. So I came, she said to be there by 8, and it was like 7:45 when I showed up, and she had them for $3 each. So let's go ahead and show them off. First up, we have a copy of Worms Armageddon. It is in the double jeweled case, but there's only one disc. It is in pretty great shape, complete in box. The manual, the disc is there and in really good shape. It's like a $15 game. On the N64, it's like a $150 game, but still cool to have on the PlayStation 1. And then the game that I came out there for in the first place, got a copy of Monster Rancher, the first one. This is a $20 to $30 game, depending on the condition, and it's in pretty alright shape. Disc is a little beat up, but it's still really nice. And I paid $6 for both of those. Didn't haggle her down for 2 for $5 since she held them for me, so I figured, I could pay what she was asking for. So after that sale, I decided to just go around, see if there was anything else. Picked this up at a yard sale for 50 cents, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It's in a Platinum Hits case. Or no, it's got a Platinum Hits cover art, and it's in a non-player Platinum Hits case with a non-Platinum Hit game. So this was the only game that wasn't scratched to hell. He had some other loose disc Xbox and Xbox 360 games, but they were all like just pretty much unsalvageable. So I picked that one up for 50 cents. Since it is a 50 cent, since I only paid 50 cents for it, it'll be a little bit of a recouper. This next find is actually pretty good. I walked into the sale and asked if they have anything, and she said she had some DS games. And now, when I saw that it was a mom and her 2 teenage daughters, I was kind of like skeptical. I was like, oh great, it's going to be nothing but like Barbie games and stuff like that. But they had those kind of games, but they also had a few really decent ones that I picked up. But first, let's show off these systems. We have a pink Nintendo DS Lite in really good shape. The Game Boy cartridge slot is there, and the stylus is there as well. The screen is pretty decent. The hinges are a little iffy on it, but it's not terrible enough to the point where I should replace them. But definitely my personal favorite DS system I've ever found is a dark blue DSi. It's actually in pretty good shape. The screens are in really good shape. The stylus is there. And yeah, it's honestly a really nice color. I'm really happy to have it. Now, the DSi came with the charger. However, the DS Lite only came with this car charger. They couldn't find the regular Nintendo DS charger, but that's not that bad. Now let's move on to the games. First up, we have AMF Bowling Pin Busters. That is complete. New Super Mario Bros. There we go. Complete. Kirby Superstar Ultra. Complete. And actually what was inside of it originally was a loose copy of Kirby Squeak Squad. I would have loved to have this be the one that was complete in box and not Superstar Ultra. I found Superstar Ultra in the pink DS. This would have been nice to find complete in box. I already own Superstar Ultra complete, but this one is actually in fantastic shape, so I might have to swap it out. And then finally, Mario Kart DS. Complete. I don't own any of those games except for Kirby Superstar Ultra Complete. I have Mario Kart DS and New Super Mario Bros., but those are both loose cart, so happy to find a box and manual for those, and ended up only paying $25 for everything, which is actually a pretty decent deal. The two systems alone go for like $50, so the games are just icing on the cake. Alright, and now definitely for probably one of the best PlayStation 2 hauls I've ever found. This sale was actually in my neighborhood, and I saw it as I was leaving it, but I felt like I was kind of going to be late to this other sale, so I said I'll just go there on the way home. Apparently they had also had the sale on Friday, because when I walked up and asked originally if they had any games, she said she had some Game Boy and Game Gear games, but those sold the day before. So I was a little disappointed, and I rolled down my usual list, and at first she didn't say she had anything, but then as I was leaving, I noticed that there was a dance pad in the box for the PlayStation 2. I'm like, oh, you have this dance pad for the PlayStation 2, do you have any PS2 games? And she said, actually, you know what, we just dug out a box, let me go grab my son and he'll sell them to you. And she went and grabbed her son, except that he was asleep and he would not get up, so she just came out and she said, you know what, I'll just sell him to you. If he's upset about it, he should have come out in the first place. So she brought out this giant box. There was at least 50 games in there, and I asked her, how much would you want a piece? And she said $2 a piece, and I said that is absolutely fine with me. Some really good games in here. He had a really good taste in games. I picked up 21 games total, and I paid $40 for everything. So first up we have a really nice minty Sega Classics collection, complete. Disc is in immaculate shape. Some of these are a little dusty, unfortunately, but I'll have to clean them up. We've got a copy of Kessen, complete. Star Wars Battlefront 2. WWE SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Third copy of this I found the entire year. Another Worms game, Worms Forts Under Siege, actually made by Sega. I didn't even know Sega made a Worms game, but it is complete. This is actually a really nice find. I was excited to see this. Got a copy of Final Fantasy XII Collector's Edition. It's not very valuable, but it's still really neat to have. It's in this nice steel book. Comes with the manual, the game, and the bonus disc. And as always, the bonus disc is mint, and the regular disc is in pretty decent shape. Up next, we have The Bouncer. That one was loose disc, or not loose disc, it just didn't come with the manual, and it wasn't in the original case. Disc is actually kind of nice, better than most discs I've seen. Got a copy of Heroes of Might and Magic. Greatest Hits, the only Greatest Hits game, Devil May Cry. Only picked this up. It's not a very valuable game, but it's a game I've been wanting to play, so I was happy about that. A copy of Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. Unfortunately, the case is, you can see right there, the middle part of the case is missing, so I'm going to have to swap out the case, but otherwise it's in good shape with the manual and disc. Copy of Eternal Ring. I saw H-Tech and I thought it might be, a valuable game because Kuon, I don't know how to pronounce it, that's an H-Tech game, and it's obviously one of the rarest games on the PlayStation 2, but turns out this is only like a $5 game. It is with the manual, but not in an original PlayStation 2 case. A copy of Twisted Metal Black. That is complete and in really good shape. Copy of Star Wars Bounty Hunter, complete. Copy of Disgaea 2 Cursed Memories, complete and in pretty fantastic shape. A copy of Gauntlet Dark Legacy. Been looking for this game for a while. Really happy to add it to the collection. Hoping I can find it on the GameCube, but obviously it's a bit rare to find on the GameCube than the PlayStation 2. A game that I actually didn't think was as valuable as it was. When I saw it, I thought it was only like a $5, $10 game. But turns out it's like a $20 game, and it's in really good shape. A copy of Trapped. It's like a horror RPG kind of type game. It's complete and in fantastic shape. And then definitely two really solid titles here. We got Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Complete and in pretty damn good shape. Disc is a little fingerprinted, but other than that, it's in really good shape. And then definitely the winner of the lot, a copy of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Obviously, this is a $50 game on the PlayStation 2, pretty valuable game. I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan, so I am going to be trading these, the second and third one. The game is complete, however, it is missing the bonus disc, which is a little bit of a letdown, but honestly not that big a deal. But the game itself is, as you can see, it's untouched practically, so really happy to find that. But wait, there is more. They actually had a couple of GameCube games, which was nice. She had 3 GameCube games in there, and one of them was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, but it was missing, so I didn't end up picking it up. In hindsight, I probably should have just offered like $1 for the case and manual, because my copy doesn't have the manual, but I wasn't really thinking at the time. But before I get to go to those, I have kind of a little bit of a sad story. One of the games that was in there was a game that I've been looking for forever, a top 5 PlayStation 2 game for me to get. So happy when I saw this in the lot. A copy of Drakengard, a Square Enix kind of title where you just ride dragons and kill people with dragons, which is honestly just sounds amazing. Open it up, it's complete. However, the disc, as you can see right there, has a pretty nasty crack. I could not get it to work for the life of me, which just sucks that this happened to be the one with the cracked disc, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Just finding the case and manual is pretty cool. So I don't know if I'm gonna just buy a disc-only copy off of eBay or what, but yeah, it was a little bit of a down. I don't know how to say it. It was a little bit of kind of got me down a little bit, but still pretty nice find, all the other games. But then we have the 2 GameCube games of the lot, and both of these are pretty good. The game I've been looking for a while on the GameCube. I own it on the PlayStation 2, but not the GameCube. A copy of Resident Evil 4. It is complete with both discs and actually a memory card. I didn't see that when I first bought the lot, so I was pretty surprised when I saw that coming home. But both the discs are in excellent shape. And then finally, of course, the winner of the lot. Every time you find this, you just, it's a pretty good find. Very easy to resell if you if you already have it. Copy of Super Smash Bros. Melee. Now, this is actually the first ever copy I found complete. All the copies that I usually find are either missing the manual or loose disc. The disc on this it's not perfect, but it's definitely better than most copies of Melee people find. People always usually seem to find this game in just total beyond playable condition, so happy to find this in decent shape. The case is a little gross. All these cases are really dirty and kind of gross. They haven't really seen the light of day in a while, so I'll have to clean those all up, but anyways, that is it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I'll have more episodes out soon, considering it is October, one of the best months here in Arizona for garage sailing, since there's like community sales every week practically. I'm not going to be going this week because I spent all my money at the yard sales this week, but next week for sure. But that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.